Hi, Judy.
Hi, Joe.
I'm really excited to be here, chatting with you about your history with appreciative inquiry for inclusion in the AI world inquiry stories. And the first question
hmm
is, how did it all begin? Where, and when did you first encounter appreciative inquiry?
So I was living in Chicago, and somehow I must have been in touch with Bliss Brown.
Mhm.
And so Bliss said she was doing a workshop with a friend of hers named David Cooperrider, and would I like to come? And I said, sure. And it was at the waterfront in some building. I went, and I was fascinating. I was fascinated with what I heard. They were really interesting. They told the story of Imagine Chicago and about appreciative inquiry. And at the break, there I went out to the table out front, and there was a kind of amateurish looking bound copy of an appreciative inquiry guidebook, and it said, "Do not take." And I took it. I think I still have it somewhere. I stole it right off the table. So that was the first of probably three AI workshops. I kept doing them over and over because I was trying to internalize kind of what was at the heart of it. What was the engine?
What was it? What was it that first encounter that really drew you to it, that fascinated you?
I think, Bliss is, both Bliss and David are charismatic. So, and, that helped. But it was the underlying proposition that this that it had profound transformative power that drew me. So then I went out to Taos and took it again, this time with
Diane,
Diana Whitney
Diana
and
Whitney
David. And then I did it again, this time with Bernard Moore and Jane Watkins.
at
It,
NTL.
no, it was somewhere else. It wasn't in TL. I don't remember where they were offering it. But I kept, and by then, of course, I knew, I understood. I think what I was trying to get is I didn't get this nesting, what it felt to me like nesting of the vision inside of the inquiry. In other words, it didn't feel linear to me to go from discovery to dream to design, and that in the discovery was already a visioning piece, which you then revisited in the visioning. I was trying to understand what were they doing with visioning that required them to do it twice inside the discovery process and as a discrete process. So I was trying to understand sort of what was the thinking. And of course, it was still early days, so there was a lot of making things up. And I preferred that to it being too codified, actually. So at any rate, that's the story.
Mhm. Well, somehow I think connected to that story, at least my story about your story, was that you were somehow moved to encourage David to create a global community of AI practitioners. What was going on in your mind at that point? And am I correct
Well,
about that?
I think part of my kind of work up till that point, I had been working with business book authors
Mhm.
to create films from their books to reach a larger audience, especially in corporate America. And I've been doing that with big media companies. I think by the time I met David, I wasn't doing it for big media companies anymore, but I still had that lens. And I felt he was playing to too small an audience for how big the idea was. So I'm not sure I explicitly said to him, why don't you create a global community? But I definitely said to him, you're playing too small here. It's not just a process, it's a bigger idea. And I think you need to play to a bigger audience. I think that's the kind of thing I would have said. I don't know what words I would have used, but that was the idea. Whether it was I mean, we did do a film with him, but it wasn't really at the idea of a film or not a film. It was really trying to get him to expand it beyond this kind of 4D business framework that it was in.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Yeah.